Hi everybody, and welcome to a fan commentary on episode 22 of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, the follow-up to Trakeena's Rise to Prominence, but now the Wrath of Trakeena, an evil game, which is also the Leo versus Trakeena episode, and the first in the series until the final episode of the season. We get some recaps from Heir to the Throne, and then we go straight into this episode as we see how things progress since Scorpius had been defeated and died. And this is the first episode where we get to see a change in scenery of the Scorpion Stinger now that Trakeena's in charge of the Scorpion Stinger. Every single piece of scenery when Scorpius was the main villain for like 21 episodes is foregone, and now we're on to what fits Trakeena's insectoid aesthetic. Yeah, Deviot was trying to be that slick and cocky trying to get that cocoon. But don't worry, he'll have a power source that will make him mutate into something different or seeming more grotesque than we'll see with Trakeena come the final episode. Trust me when we get there. You know, Deviot can seem loyal to her now. Wait until we get to the very end of the show in the Captain Mutiny arc. You know, honestly, I feel as though that when they killed Scorpius off, okay, we need a motivation for her to do something really pure evil to finally get back at the Power Rangers and Terra Venture, because this was worth building up to, because, I mean, compared to all the other female villains we've had in the, Power Rangers of the 90s, Rita, Divatox, and Astronema, I'm only counting female humanoid-looking villains, not Queen Machina from Zeo, because she's a robot female villain, or Princess Archerina. That compared to mainly Divatox and Astronema, I knew that then and there that they were going to do Trakeena completely different from what we know of her character, and realizing that they were going to have her written as we were first introduced to her as a sidekick to her father, but then as the show progressed, she would be her own character and have some independence to do her own thing of evil. Oh, and Mike is included back into the credits. So with that in mind, they needed to make her the main villain halfway through the show. And this was the kind of character development we did not expect for a Power Rangers villain. And I wish someone I used to know back in high school would have understood, but, knowing her, she never liked Power Rangers or never cared about it. But again, I know, here I am, 2024, 14 years since I did that project, and I'm still harping about that, but just only briefly. The two monsters that Deviot hired to assassinate Trakeena, one of them is a monster that we would see two times. Teska, that being that samurai ninja looking monster next to Kubak, that samurai looking clown thing that looks like a demented evil version of Bukala from Mighty Morphin Season 2. Come to think of it, looking at Kubak, he is kind of like a samurai version of the Bukala monster from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 2. I must wonder whatever happened to Bukala. Is that how he became to be after he left? But then again, we had Evil Bukala back in that same episode when Lord Zed made that monster, but if you go back to that. Oh, and this is, once again, a Koichi Sakamoto directed episode. Man, this is one of the reasons why any Power Rangers episode that was directed by Koichi Sakamoto is always going to be great. Okay, we get a brief moment of sparring between Leo and Kai in the forest. Man, I wish that they did more of this in the season, but then again, we got what we got, so maybe I shouldn't complain anymore. See what I mean? Complex sword fighting in this season. This is one of the reasons why I love this series. Okay, Rangers, you're about to prepare what is the worst is yet to come, or has already come. This is their first introduction to Villamax because the Rangers never even heard of this guy. This is the first time. And one of the few times we'll ever see Villamax fight them directly. Yeah, sure, Villamax may not fight the Rangers directly a lot of the time, but he'll only fight them on occasion, mainly the Red Ranger, as we've seen in this episode, and briefly in Protect the Quasar Saber, while Trakina was fighting Corone, when we'll get to that episode eventually. This entire story, however, with Trakina wanting revenge against the Power Rangers, this is only a Power Rangers exclusive storyline. What little bit of Gingaman suit, monster, such footage, well, that's only for the Zords. For a quick 1 minute. But everything else is all in an original storyline. This is not directly lifted from Gingaman. Although there was an episode of this similarly in Gingaman between Shalinda and Hayate, aka Ginga Green. But in the Power Rangers version, it's Trakina versus the Red Ranger. And I think this is something that we all expected out of for the last 25 years. I've loved this series to death and talked about it a lot. Man, I should have... Maybe this should give me an idea what I should do with Villamax when I do a sequel to Power Rangers Lost in Galaxy 2024. Do more Leo versus Villamax fights, and because what we got out of Leo versus Villamax was good, somewhat in the series, but I can do probably somewhat more in my fan film stuff because it just wasn't enough. But sure, yeah, I did some of that stuff in Power Rangers Lost in Galaxy 2014, but... even though I'm glad I don't have those paper dolls anymore, but I should do way more when I do more custom action figures. But don't worry, somewhere down the line in late 2024, I'll do a custom Villamax 12-inch action figure out of an existing Batman figure or something. Like what I'm already doing with the fan film reboot I'm working on. You know, in the Sentai, now that we got Villamax and Magna Defender in the same shot, this is the first time that we have Magna Defender and Villamax in an American Power Ranger exclusive shot. Scene, sorry. Because in the Sentai, Magna Defender and Villamax were rivals. But it was, in our version, Magna Defender versus Treacher. Don't do it, Leo! Don't throw the Quasar Saber in the... Damn it. And it's the toy version, of course. Let my friends go! Yeah, see, Dolph Lundgren? Why couldn't you do this kind of stuff in the He-Man Masters of the Universe movie, huh? When you confronted against Frank Lagella's Skeletor. That's considered acting. Let her go. Suck it, Lundgren. We do also hear some background music I heard from Power Rangers in Space's last couple of episodes here as cued. You know, that somber music that I heard since the episode where the Mega Voyager got blown up, and a bit of Countdown to Destruction Part 1 with this music. While Villamax is loyal to Trakina, and see, again, they're taking everything that made In Space's villains so iconic, but Lost Galaxy's villains are basically everything the In Space villains should have been. Pure evil. But sure, yeah, Villamax and Deviot are up there with Ecliptor and Darkonda, but Deviot had his own agenda, and honestly, Deviot was rather his own character. I mean, yeah, what bits of shades of Darkonda there was in him, we shall see, because again, this season is kind of a quasi-sequel season to last season. Man, saying season times is kind of fun, isn't it? Who would have thought seeing a Power Ranger getting tortured in a villain's lair, clothes torn up, ripped up, and he's bleeding and bruised to death? Wow. I mean, I'm telling you, one of the reasons I've always liked these Power Rangers, no matter how much of a kid show it is, they actually went to a very dark territory. And I'm glad that I grew up in an era where this show... Okay, let me shut up. Now, this is where we get to Leo and his rivalry with Trakina. Then again, Leo, that was your choice if you decided to destroy Scorpius. It was the first time that one of the Rangers would see Trakina finally in her, but then again, Leo has seen her before from her human form to that form that he's seeing now back in Stolen Beauty. Because again, 21, 22 episodes of build-up, and we got the payoff. Man, I swear, did Trakina take this cue book from Deviot back in the Passing of the Torch two-parter from Turbo? But again, Lost Galaxy is everything Turbo isn't, but actually a do-over of Turbo. Particularly this episode being a more serious do-over when Deviot captured Tommy back in Passing of the Torch. And thus, my favorite villain trinity, Trakina, Villamex, and Deviot in the same scene. I'm going to save that thought when I redo this all in a future Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan film or two eventually. Save that thought for 2 movies or 3. That shot of the Stingwinger flying with Leo and Deviot, that was CG, but also part of that is green screen or blue screen. But though, then again, you gotta remember this was late 90s, early 2000s Power Rangers. The CGI is somewhat decent for the time. It has its moments, but I have to understand that the CGI, knowing CGI budgets compared, in TV shows back then as opposed to now, is nothing like what we had back then. Because again, this was the first big instance where Power Rangers would start utilizing computer-generated graphics for visual and special effects. Because past seasons would rather use practical effects or the type of 2D effects because again, due to the fact that the Zordon era was done on the cheaps and done on the fly, but post-Zordon, they had to step their A game with the budget for visual effects, costuming, props, makeup, you name it. I don't understand, why does that Stingwinger got his butt up in the air? It just, I don't know. Of course, the main attraction of this episode, and the moment I've been waiting for since Trakina ever realized that the Red Ranger was the real perpetrator for killing Scorpius. That's so funny. That dome force field looks so similar to the domes of Terra Venture itself, huh? And this is the moment that got all the fangirls and stuff swooning and all the guys like, yeah, I'm a man! Again, Leo was Carter Grayson before Carter Grayson. I'm Hercules, bitch. Yeah, from the moment Leo ripped his shirt off in front of Trakina, you know darn well this may be a kid show, but you gotta realize we have to do something for the adult audience out there too. Oh yeah, Vasquez rocks. That's exactly where the command center was back in the Zordon era. But then again, this was still a Power Ranger series still shot in Los Angeles, California. So we're not close to the New Zealand seasons yet. Wait until after Wild Force and we get to Ninja Storm. Trust me. Now, when I did Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, The Wrath of Trakina, my fan film thing with the puppets again, I did adapt this fight a little bit, but it was just mainly just some shots with the paper puppets of the Red Ranger versus Trakina, but every other shot was Soul Calibur gameplay footage that was all camcorder, but it's not of the best of quality because again, given where I was at my time with my limitations of making fan films compared to the limitations the TV show had when it was either Saban or Disney or whoever doing the show at the time, so you gotta understand things are different compared to what we got now with the series. And again, it's great that they actually managed to make. It was great that they decided to creatively make Trakina Leo's rival, even though usually, if this had been an episode, if this would have been more like Kendricks versus Trakina, which again, remember that this is one of the many episodes they did because when Valerie was still sick, they couldn't be able to make Trakina rival against Kendricks because again Valerie was sick, so they decided to put Leo as the target of Trakina, and Trakina being Leo's rival, Leo being Trakeena's rival. And this is one of the few times in Power Rangers where the female villain would rival against the Red Ranger. And honestly, I'd rather take Trakeena's scene-chewery, in-your-face, bitchy stuck-upness than Tanaya and RPM. I'm sorry, but it's just... Trakeena did it first. Sorry, Tanaya. She did it first. Well, at least Roxy and Beast Morphers was nothing like either Trakeena or Tanaya. But although I say Roxy was a step up over Tanaya to me, but she's just not up to level with Trakeena. I'm sorry, but still. And again, there are some shots where Amy is not in the costume doing all that fighting. That was a suit actor. I mean, suit actress doing all of that stunt work and stuff. And then we cut the shots where she actually is doing the... Oh, and her sword does a green lightsaber. But she's not even a Jedi. But then again, the green aesthetic to her... Well, again, with all those green light effects, this is foreshadowing her green mantis form come the final episode. So it was clever that they decided to go ahead and, foreshadow that, because again, when we get to the final episode, when she does mutate into that green mantis mutant thing in Journey's End Part 3, then that pays off as well. Because also she even had also the green armor, which she didn't have as much for only 2 episodes. Deviot, you slide devil. Oh, man, you running like you got something stuck with your pants. Like you just... I don't want to say. But it's just watching Deviot run to Trakeena and then he did that. Oh, man, it's just like, come on, man. It's like, what did you do? Shit yourself? So we are really starting to see Trakeena getting more and more evil and more irritated, more vicious and homicidal at points. But it's just building up to her getting homicidal when we get to the end of the season. Well, I like, while as much as I like Trakeena in the TV series, but I'm trying to do something that the TV show character didn't do, because that's why with my upcoming fan film reboot, I gotta do something that neither of my past fan film attempts of Lost Galaxy or her included didn't do, is try to do something that the show wouldn't allow her to do, and getting vicious and going hand to hand violent with the Rangers. Now, in the Ginga Man episode, this was a Green Ranger episode where the Zord fight and the monster suit came from. Well, good thing Damon doesn't have to do the same thing Hayate did with the fear of eating a tomato, because that was only a Sentai thing, not a Power Rangers thing. Now, Kubak's staff is a Tommy gun? Well, then again, it's clever that his... but again, the Zord fight is not that long, but I'm happy that we have to end it off on a good note. But the Rangers still have to suffer the wrath of Trakeena, because then again, as we soon see, because after this episode, until to the 10th Power and Power of Pink is a bunch of character-centric episodes, minus, Kendrick's having a focus episode until her Swan Song episode with Cassie and the Space Rangers and Psycho Pink. This scene with Trakeena confronting all 5 Power Rangers is so iconic 25 years later. It's bone-chilling, because, whenever I rewatched this, and when between this and To the 10th Power, I would just go straight, skip all those filler episodes that are about Leo, Damon, Kai, and Maya, and just go straight to the 10th Power immediately. Because all these episodes, between this and To the 10th Power, are just not worth noting, noteworthy. Unless if it's something noteworthy building up to In Space's team up with the Galaxy Rangers, like in the Chameleon Warrior. Villamax, I don't know why you want to owe him a treaty or a special gift, that dagger, when on that dagger would be nothing to Deviot, because he's a backstabber, and make that as a metaphor of the fact he is a backstabber. Don't trust him so easily, because you know, then again, Ecliptor could not stand Darkonda. So you are just like, I mean, but then again, Villamax is brainwashed. He's brainwashed to be evil and is worthy, you know, loyal to whoever he serves. And that dagger was squished up like a plastic toy. And what the heck is Kegler doing back there? For what, really? But then again, Kegler didn't do nothing in this show. So that's it. Until next time.